You're not going to explode if you eat a processed food or get cancer from some added sugar. But a healthy body does require a healthy diet. Now, it doesn't need to be complicated. So I have put together 10 principles that if you follow most of the time, then you will be on the path to better health. If you're new here, I'm Maria and I'm a registered dietitian. Let's get into the video. Now, number 1 is filling up on fiber. There is so much hype about protein, but fiber is honestly a superhero here too. And fiber can make us slimmer, happier, and healthier in so many ways. But most of us do not eat enough of it. And this can affect our health and our waistlines. And a study commissioned by the World Health Organization revealed that people who eat more fiber are slimmer than those who don't. And beyond weight, diets that are higher in fiber are linked to reduced incidence of diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and colorectal cancer. And some foods are naturally very high in fiber, like linseeds, chia seeds, mangoes, pears, berries, beans, peas, and lentils. So trying to eat more of these is a really good way to start. But in general, if you choose more whole grains like brown breads, whole grain pasta, and eating more plants of any kind will be a really big help. And if you're looking for a number, generally adults should try to consume at least 25 to 30 grams of fiber every single day. And for children, it's typically their age plus 5 grams. So for a 5-year-old, that would be 10 grams. 5 years plus 5 grams. But newer guidelines even suggest that you can go for higher intakes of fiber in children, starting as high as 15 grams from 2 years of age upwards. Now, if you don't know how or where to start when it comes to increasing your fiber needs, I have a full free fiber resource which I've linked in the description box below. You're welcome. Now, the next one is the one that makes the most difference to me. And I know when I do this, my dietary patterns are so much better. And it's also often something that is very easily overlooked because it is very simple. And it's taking time to eat your meals more mindfully. Eating on the go or while working on your laptop or in front of the television. It interferes with our body's ability to recognize our satiety or our fullness cues. So being present whilst eating is the first step to avoid overeating. And this way of eating has been shown to help people better control their portion sizes, eat less without even intending to, lead to more weight loss, better blood sugar levels, and even lower cholesterol. So put down the phone, limit the noise, and eat your meals slowly and without distraction. Try to experience your meal with all of your senses. Pay attention to what your food looks like, the texture, the smell, and of course the taste. And I know it's not always practical with busy lives. So even if you just manage to do this a little bit more often, it can really help. I'm going to pause here and ask that if you're enjoying the video so far, I would really appreciate it if you hit the red subscribe button below. It really helps support my channel so I can continue making more videos like this one. And while you're at it, I would love it if you gave the video a thumbs up too. Now, the next thing that you can do is try to keep a food diary for a few days every now and again. The interesting thing about keeping a food diary is that it often leads to better food choices and weight loss, with or without the intention to do so. This was shown in a study in 2019, where people who were overweight were asked to track their food intake every day using a free smartphone app. And although they didn't follow a particular diet, the average weight loss within the group was significant. In a different study with nearly 1,700 people, keeping a food diary was shown to double a person's weight loss. Now, it doesn't have to be a super formal exercise, and it does not need to be meticulously counting calories. It can be in a diary, an app, or even on your smartphone in an email or a text message to yourself, or the Notes app on your phone. But one of the benefits of documenting what you eat is that it starts the process of reflection. If you reflect on what you eat, you become more aware of your habits, leading to behavior change. And being able to self-monitor is a key aspect of behavior change. Now, it doesn't need to become an obsessive behavior. You do not need to be tracking what you eat every single day. But every now and again, it can be useful to check in. It's all the picking between meals and mindless grazing that people forget about that can really make a difference. Now, my next tip is having a diversity jar for better gut health. In fact, I have one here. So I want you to think of a soccer team, and you don't need to be sporty to get this concept. But the best soccer team in the world does not have a team that is solely made up of all of the best strikers. Instead, it has a team with a really good goalkeeper, really good defenders, really good strikers, a really good captain, and a really good coach. If you had a team of just really good defenders, for example, they might be really good at one thing, but they're not actually going to get very far in the league. A team with different good players would actually perform much better. Now, in your gut, it's actually quite similar. There are many different types of bacteria and they all do different things. So one species of bacteria might help with your mental health. The next helps with your appetite. The next helps with your heart health. The next controls cravings. But they all do different things. So again, you want diversity here. You don't just want hundreds of the same type. And the best way to achieve this diverse team of gut bacteria is to have a lot of variety in your diet, because a variety of foods will encourage more different types of bacteria to flourish. So the goal is to eat 30 different types of plants every single week. And this can seem like a challenge to many people. You might be trying to eat your broccoli and your cauliflower on a Monday, your oats and your blueberries on a Tuesday, then your peas and carrots on a Wednesday. And then by the end of the week, you're still not even close to the 30 different plant foods. And this is where a diversity jar can come into play. It's a jar that you can have on your countertop within eye level that you see regularly. And it contains many different seeds, nuts, or even herbs and spices that you particularly like. And they're very diverse. So for example, my diversity jar, I can sprinkle a few over my oats in the morning or on top of yogurt. Or I can add them into a stir fry or add them into a salad for a bit of crunch. But I always see them and I think, oh, I'll just add some more of these in here. And by doing that, I'm getting in at least 7 or 8 other plant foods. My next change is making sure you include protein at every meal. Now, I know I said at the start that protein gets too much hype, but it is still important, particularly if you're trying to manage your weight or prevent overeating and mindless snacking. Because protein is filling and somewhat self-limiting. And what I mean by this is that a slice of toast with butter contains roughly the same amount of calories as 1 chicken breast. Now, if you were hungry, how many slices of toast could you have? You could easily probably have 2 or 3, maybe even more. But would you sit down and have 2 or 3 chicken breasts? Probably not. You'd probably start to feel pretty full after 2. So we know that eating protein prevents the secretion of our hunger hormone, and it increases the secretion of the hormones that tell us that we're full, our satiety hormones. So it is really important that every meal does have some source of protein in it to help give us that satisfaction and feeling of fullness. Now, you don't need to go overboard, but having a source like chicken, meat, eggs, dairy, beans, peas, or lentils at every main meal is a good rule of thumb to play by. Now, if you want to know the exact amount of protein that you should be eating for your weight and your needs, you can check out this video here. Now, the next change kind of leads on from this point, and it's to make some tasty changes to your breakfast to prevent snacking in the evening. A breakfast that is high in fibre and protein will not only set you up nicely for the day, but studies suggest that it improves our food choices throughout the day too. And those who eat a high protein breakfast are less likely to engage in late night snacking, especially in foods that are high in sugar and fat, compared to people who skip or have a very poorly balanced breakfast. Now, I know some people will tell me that they don't like eating breakfast or they're simply not hungry first thing. And that's fine. I'll rarely tell someone to eat if they really don't feel like it. But whenever you do decide to break the fast, breakfast, even if it is a little bit later than typical, that meal should be balanced. It shouldn't just be a croissant or a coffee. And saving your calories for later in the day will often also lead to overeating later in the day too. But if you're currently having a breakfast and it's like oats made with water or toast or a muffin or pancakes, you want to make sure you're having some protein here. So that could be making sure that you make your oats with a milk that has protein in it or adding Greek yogurt, or it's having some eggs or cottage cheese with your toast. It's about making sure that the meal is balanced. Now, this one is pretty easy, but it's aiming to be hydrated before you have a meal. Hunger can often be mistaken for dehydration, and lots of people drink water when they eat, and they're hydrated by the time a meal ends. But it may be beneficial to aim to be hydrated before the meal starts. In a study, 2 groups of participants were asked to stick to the same lower calorie meals in an effort to lose weight. But one group was asked to drink 500 ml of water before every meal, and the other group did not. Interestingly, the group that drank the water before the meal lost approximately 2 kg more than the group who did not. And they showed a 44% greater increase in weight over the 12-week period of the study. And these results are quite significant for such a simple change. And whilst we're on the topic of hydrating, I would also encourage to try to drink water over tea and coffee where you can. And it's not that tea and coffee are bad for us. In fact, they really are not, unless you have anxiety or struggle with something like IBS. Despite common misconceptions, tea and coffee are still hydrating. However, they can often come with extra calories. For instance, one study showed that roughly 2/3 of coffee drinkers and 1/3 of tea drinkers put sugar, cream, flavorings, or other calorie-rich additives to their drinks. Plus, Tea is often joked as the gateway drug to biscuits. So if a biscuit contained 100 calories, every 20 biscuits would be a day's worth of food. My next tip is to use volume eating to your advantage. So foods are different sizes that are not necessarily proportionate to their calorie density. For example, 1 tablespoon of a nut butter or an oil has roughly around 100 calories, but you would need to eat around 4 cups of cauliflower to have the same calorie intake. And fats are more calorie dense in nature, and they are still a really nutritious food that we need every single day. And if you try to take the approach of volume eating too far and filling up on all of these lower calorie, high volume foods, you're likely just going to feel not satisfied and very bloated. But we can still use this concept to our advantage. Take your dinner plate, for example. If you are trying to be more mindful of portion sizes, and maybe you're trying to reduce the amount of rice on your plate, and psychologically that can be quite difficult. But filling up your plate with more non-starchy veggies or mixing some cauliflower rice in with your regular rice can make it seem a lot easier to stick with, and you may not even notice the difference. So it's a great option for people who are trying to manage their weight, but don't necessarily want to feel like they're eating less. Now the next change is to try to eat homemade food more often. This will not only help your physical health, but your financial health too. As eating out not only costs more money, it often has more calories as well. Studies show that home cooked meals are lower in calories, lower in added salt, lower in saturated fat, but don't result in higher monthly food expenses. And for those who work, lunch is typically eaten out. So why not consider trying to pack a lunch? It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, the more likely you're going to be able to sustain keeping this new habit. The humble sandwich is often overlooked, but it can be a really healthy and nutritious choice. If you're using whole grain bread, a lean protein source, and adding some veggies, and then you could have a piece of fruit on the side. Easy, underrated, and it can taste delicious if you make it nicely. Lastly, you really do need to think beyond diet. As a dietitian, I will always advocate for diet changes, but it really is only one piece of the puzzle. Sleep, exercise, and stress all interplay when it comes to our health and our ability to continue making healthy choices. For example, if you don't sleep well, you're more likely to be choosing higher energy snack foods the next day. If you're not exercising, you're not going to feel very energized, and then you're not going to be motivated to make your lunch. And if you're not managing your stress, you're definitely not going to want to try and make a home cooked meal. So we really do need to be taking a holistic approach and focusing on these 4 pillars for health. So there we have it, 10 easy changes that if you follow will guarantee to have you on the path to better health. Let me know in the comments what change you are going to make today, and if any of these points surprised you or stood out in particular. As a thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video, I have a free recipe ebook which I've linked in the description box below. Thank you very much for watching, stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.